December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor is attacked. But instead of FDR in the Oval Office, imagine Donald Trump picking up that phone. Here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. Military historians have analyzed Trump's negotiation tactics, his America First philosophy, and his leadership style. And they've concluded that World War II could have ended completely differently. We're talking about a potential separate peace with Hitler, a radically different D-Day, and decisions that would reshape the entire world order as we know it today. What I'm about to reveal will challenge everything you thought you knew about history's most decisive conflict. Let's dive in. Now, before we explore this alternate timeline, we need to understand the stakes. World War II wasn't just another war. It was the defining moment of the 20th century. Over 70 million people died. The Holocaust, nuclear weapons, the birth of the United Nations, the Cold War. Every single one of these outcomes was shaped by Roosevelt's specific decisions. So what happens when you replace FDR's diplomatic approach with Trump's art of the deal mentality? The answer is more complex and more shocking than you might think. Here's why this matters. Trump's presidency showed us a leader who rejected traditional alliances, who prioritized bilateral deals over multilateral agreements, and who wasn't afraid to walk away from negotiations. Now imagine applying that exact playbook to the most catastrophic war in human history. Buckle up, because this alternate timeline gets wild. Let's start with December 8, 1941, the day after Pearl Harbor. In our timeline, FDR delivered his famous Day of Infamy speech and immediately declared war on Japan. But here's where Trump changes everything. Based on his documented negotiation style, Trump would likely frame this as the worst deal in American history. The fact that Japan caught us unprepared. Military analysts predict he would immediately fire multiple intelligence chiefs for failing to see it coming, launch a massive media campaign blaming previous administrations, demand immediate retaliation with overwhelming force. Now, here's what's really shocking. Trump's business background shows he responds to attacks with disproportionate force to establish dominance. Pearl Harbor killed 2,403 Americans. Military historians estimate Trump would authorize not one, but 3 immediate retaliatory strikes on Japanese cities, possibly before the Manhattan Project even existed. We're talking about conventional bombing campaigns 10 times more intensive than what actually happened in early 1942. But that's not all. Now we reach the most controversial part, Adolf Hitler. In our timeline, Hitler declared war on America on December 11, 1941, just 4 days after Pearl Harbor. But what if Trump was president? Here's where it gets incredibly complex. Trump's documented approach shows he separates personal relationships from ideology when making deals. He sat down with Kim Jong-un. He's praised authoritarian leaders when he saw strategic advantage. Military historians have identified something fascinating. In late 1941, Hitler was actually hesitant about declaring war on America. What if Trump had reached out first? Imagine this scenario. Trump proposes a non-aggression understanding with Germany. The pitch? You handle your sphere, we handle ours. Stay out of the Western Hemisphere and we'll stay out of Europe. Sounds insane, right? But here's the thing. This was actually America's official position for most of the 1930s. It was called isolationism. Trump's America First philosophy is essentially neo-isolationism. Now, you might be wondering, would Hitler have accepted? The historical evidence suggests, possibly yes. Hitler desperately didn't want a two-front war. He was already struggling against the Soviet Union. But here's the catch. This would mean abandoning Britain to face Germany alone. No lend-lease, no American supplies, no hope of rescue. Churchill would be forced to either negotiate peace with Hitler, giving him control of Europe, fight alone and likely lose within 6 to 12 months. The consequences? Absolutely catastrophic for human history. But let's say Trump does focus entirely on Japan, his actual attacker. Here's where his business mindset creates shocking changes. Trump's track record shows he values speed and decisive victories over long, expensive campaigns. The actual Pacific War lasted 4 years and cost hundreds of billions of dollars. Military experts predict Trump would demand, "Why are we island hopping? Just go straight to Tokyo." Massive acceleration of the Manhattan Project. Earlier use of nuclear weapons, possibly by late 1943 instead of August 1945. Did you know that the US eventually spent $2 billion, 1940s dollars, on the Manhattan Project? That's equivalent to $30 billion today. Trump, known for questioning expensive military programs, might actually increase funding here because nukes offer quick, decisive victory. But here's what's really disturbing. Without the Long Pacific Campaign, we might have developed atomic weapons without fully understanding their horrific consequences. The slow island-by-island fighting gave scientists time to witness conventional bombing effects and debate nuclear ethics. A rushed program? We might have used 5 to 6 atomic bombs instead of just 2. Even worse, we might have used them without warning, killing potentially millions of Japanese civilians. Now let's talk about alliances, because this is where Trump's approach creates massive changes. In our timeline, FDR built the Grand Alliance, America, Britain, and the Soviet Union working together. But Trump's documented behavior shows he distrusts multilateral alliances and prefers bilateral deals. Here's what that means. Instead of one unified command, we'd likely see separate American-British agreement, with America demanding much more from Britain in return. Transactional relationship with Soviets, weapons for territorial concessions. Constant renegotiation of terms based on battlefield performance. Military historians point out something crucial. The actual alliance succeeded because of long-term trust and coordination. D-Day required 2 years of joint planning between American, British, and Canadian forces. Under Trump's transactional approach, commanders estimate D-Day either happened 6 to 12 months earlier, less prepared, higher casualties. Doesn't happen at all. America invades through Italy or Balkans instead. Now, here's the kicker. Trump has consistently questioned why America pays more than allies. He'd likely demand Britain and others pay for American equipment, rather than providing Lend-Lease for free. The problem? Britain was bankrupt by 1941. They literally couldn't pay. So either America invades Europe alone, catastrophic casualties, or doesn't invade at all, leaving Hitler in control. Neither option is good. Here's an aspect most people don't consider: domestic propaganda. World War II required total mobilization of American society, rationing, women in factories, censorship, unity. But Trump's leadership style is built on constant media engagement, attacking critics publicly, creating controversy to dominate news cycles. Imagine Trump's Twitter during World War II. General Marshall moving too slow. Sad. Need winners who can get the job done. Considering replacements. Fake news media claiming our bomber production is behind schedule. Wrong. We're making the most beautiful bombers. Believe me. Military historians point out, this would create chaos in command structure. The actual war effort succeeded because military leaders had authority to make strategic decisions without constant political interference. But here's what's fascinating. Trump's direct communication style might actually boost morale in some ways. His rallies, his confidence, his promises of winning so much you'll get tired of winning. These could be incredibly effective for wartime morale. FDR's fireside chats were calming and reassuring. Trump's approach, aggressive, confident, and action-oriented. For a nation hungry for revenge after Pearl Harbor, that might be exactly what people wanted to hear. Let's talk about something crucial: military technology. World War II was won by innovation, radar, code-breaking, long-range bombers, and ultimately nuclear weapons. Trump's business background shows he loves bold, flashy projects that produce tangible results. Here's what changes. Massive funding increases for Manhattan Project, even bigger than actual. Jet aircraft development, operational by 1943 instead of 1944. Rocket programs, competing directly with German V-2s. But here's the trade-off. Trump's record shows he cuts programs that don't show immediate results. Things like code breaking, invisible, unglamorous. Logistics and supply chains, boring but essential. Long-term strategic planning, too slow. Military experts warn, wars aren't won by wonder weapons alone. The Allies won because of superior logistics, intelligence, and sustained industrial production. Trump's preference for big, beautiful solutions over boring fundamentals could actually prolong the war despite better technology. Now we reach the most shocking revelation of this entire scenario. What happens to the Holocaust? This is the darkest part of our alternate timeline, and we need to confront it directly. In our actual history, American forces liberated concentration camps in 1945. The world saw the horrors. The Nuremberg trials happened. Never again became a global commitment. But in our Trump timeline, if America never invades Europe, if Trump negotiates separate peace with Hitler, if the focus stays entirely on Japan, then the Holocaust continues unchecked until the Soviet Union finally defeats Germany, possibly not until 1946 or 1947. That means an additional 1 to 2 million Jewish victims. Even worse, without American forces documenting the camps, without American pressure for justice, the full scope of Nazi atrocities might have been covered up or downplayed by Soviet propaganda. The Nuremberg trials might never happen. International human rights law might not develop the same way. The creation of Israel? Potentially delayed or prevented entirely. Here's what military historians emphasize. FDR's decision to prioritize Germany first, despite Japan attacking us, was morally crucial. It meant America committed to stopping genocide, not just avenging Pearl Harbor. Would Trump have made that same choice, based on his documented America First philosophy and transactional approach to foreign policy? The honest answer is, probably not, and that changes everything. So what's the bottom line of this alternate history? Here's the reality. A Trump presidency during World War II would likely have produced faster development of nuclear weapons, quicker victory over Japan, possibly by 1944, fewer American casualties in the Pacific, but also longer or no war against Nazi Germany, millions more Holocaust victims, weaker post-war international order, potentially a Nazi-controlled Europe for years longer. The ultimate question becomes, is a faster American victory worth the cost of abandoning Europe to Hitler? FDR said no. He believed America had a moral obligation to fight fascism everywhere, even when it cost more American lives. Trump's philosophy suggests he would prioritize American interests narrowly defined, avenge Pearl Harbor, protect American territory, minimize American casualties. Neither approach is simply right or wrong. They represent fundamentally different visions of America's role in the world. One final thought. The world we live in today, NATO, the United Nations, international human rights law, the European Union, all of it was shaped by how World War II was fought and ended. Change the president, and you change not just the war. You change the entire world that came after. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Trump's America First approach would have saved American lives? Or would it have betrayed our moral obligation to stop the Holocaust? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is a complex question with no easy answers, and I'm genuinely curious what you think. And if this alternate history blew your mind, imagine what else could have changed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.